so-called Negro community has shocked the white man by resisting all efforts to divide us. I think that you and I should continue to shock him by staying and working together in unity, despite religious, political, economic, or educational or social differences.
My people are terrified. We've been terrorized to the point that we're mentally and spiritually paralyzed. We suffered through centuries of dehumanization and degradation. It took the form of slavery and segregation in this land of the free, where oppression's government sanctioned. We're subjected to systemic skin color discrimination, from black codes to Jim Crow to black criminalization. It's been 400 years, it's time for our liberation. We're a nation within a nation, victims of colonization. Where's our revolution and Independence Day celebration? Cause what's the 4th of July to the slave on the plantation? And slavery didn't end, they just changed its implementation. Just check the 13th Amendment, then you'll see why so many black males end up as guilty defendants. The system isn't broken, it's working as it's intended. So I'm not here to fix it, I'm here to end it.
And then again, if we tell you that Negroes are being hung on the tree or being shot down illegally, unjustly, and those Negroes should do something to protect themselves, you say you're advocating violence.
I won't rest till this nightmare we're living in ends, and we see justice for our murdered young innocent men. If black lives really matter, black people need the proof. Cause we are the only ones responsible for our improvement. How can we leave it to someone else to do what's best for us, especially when there's someone else that's historically been oppressing us? We can't use a system built to enslave us to free us, and we really sick if we think that they white Jesus can heal us. Our children need us to defend them, teach them and guide them, show them love and bring out the greatness that is deep inside them. Are we gonna build a nation or stay on the plantation? Keep begging for our freedom or fight for our liberation?
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, he didn't say get nonviolent. He said praise the Lord, but pass the ammunition.
We must be willing to die together, or we'll definitely die separately. We desperately need unity if liberation is our destiny. If we don't know our history, then we doomed to repeat it. White supremacy is the enemy, but together we can defeat it. They stole us from the motherland, sold us into slavery, forced us to work for them. They got the nerve to call us lazy. In this caste system, we're outcasts, still treated as second class. But I can feel it in the air, revolutions in the forecast. We came for greatness, but they don't want us to know. So they hid our history to keep us under control. All it takes is to take a stand. The enemy's not invincible, but we must come together as one nation indivisible.
20 million black people don't even know their own language. Why? Because he took it away from them. 20 million black people who don't even know the history of their ancestors. Why? Because he took it away from them. And if you're trying to tell them how thoroughly and completely they've been robbed, he says you're teaching hate. That's something to think about. Today you are coming out of college. You're coming out of the leading university. You're trying to go in a good direction, but you don't know which direction to go in.
So, family, I waited before I said something about this because there are things sometimes that are so despicable that you have to compose your thoughts before you actually address them on these public platforms. And I'm going to do my best to hold my composure together on this. But this tweet that you see on your screen, and we're going to look at several today. And let's be clear, this is not just about Sheila Jackson Lee. This is about the entire Congressional Black Caucus. Name one time, just one, in the last 50, 60 years that these people have gone to bat for the Black American community the way they put the cape on for people that are outside of our community and not even citizens of our nation. Just name one time when we clearly have a crisis situation going on in Jackson, Mississippi, when we have situations going on like Flint, Michigan, that have a severe and devastating water crisis issue going on. And we have people like this fool advocating for people over in Pakistan. Without further ado, let's get into some of these tweets that she stated here before I actually go ahead and give my thoughts on this. As you see, this first tweet reads, from Sheila Jackson Lee down in Texas. After visiting the flood-ravaged region impacting 33 million Pakistanis, and after meetings discussing bringing more aid to Pakistan, I was humbled to receive this award. Now, if you look down here at this picture, she's over there receiving this award or what have you. Okay, that's great, Sheila. You get an award from the people of Pakistan for aiding them. Has anybody heard of any of these people in the Congressional Black Caucus talking about sending aid to the people of Jackson, Mississippi right now? Anybody heard anything at all? Because I have not seen them tweeting about it. I have not seen them going down there or even advocating for resources when they're not down there to be sent to rectify this problem, which is a state and federal issue. It's not up to the civilians to maintain the infrastructure of the places that they live in. That is the job of the state and federal government. That's what we pay taxes for. Yet they take our tax money and can quickly and fervently go and render aid to people that aren't even United States citizens, whether they're outside of America or actually in the country. So let's go over to the next part of what she's saying here. But this flooding being of biblical proportion requires our continued work and commitment to help end this unspeakable suffering in Pakistan due to this catastrophic flooding. Okay, so she's still, talking about the flooding that's going on in Pakistan over there. Sheila, don't you think it's a biblical proportion when people in our community don't have access to safe and clean drinking water? Water is something, as all of us with common sense know, that is vital to life and humanity. And see, the Jackson, Mississippi problem, the Flint, Michigan problem, these are not things that are just happenstance, because we keep seeing this happen in predominantly Black areas where the infrastructure is neglected. And magically, all of a sudden, when you go to these places and go to the white areas, the white people don't seem to be having the same issue. We can go on back and look at the situations like cancer alleys across the country where they deliberately put Black people in the worst areas of places where there's industrial chemicals and things, and people are catching cancer left and right. See, when we see people like Sheila and the rest of the Congressional Black Caucuses sit on their asses and look the other way as if we, Black American taxpayers, aren't supposed to be advocated for the same way they do these other groups outside our community, You have to question, I don't care which party they're in, Democrat or Republican, you have to question, why in the world would you ever vote for somebody that doesn't even think enough of you to advocate for you in a life or death situation? I want y'all to sit with that for a minute. Sit with that for a minute. Let's look at further what she's saying. As far as the eye could see, I saw water. We were the first U.S. delegation to visit the most devastating and deadly flooding in Pakistani history. A flood of historic proportion, a real monster of a disaster. So, when we read that statement that she just made on her Twitter, we know there's nothing wrong with this woman's eyes and her perception. She has the ability, her and the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus, because I'm not just getting on her, they have the ability to see and recognize when things are of historic proportions, and they know what a disaster looks like, except for when it comes to the same people that look like them that they're supposed to represent. It seems that their eyesight and their ability to perceive diminishes very greatly when it comes to situations that affect us, like Jackson, Mississippi. Can anybody show me where this woman has even mentioned that? Can anybody show me where she or any of them have even said what they intend to do? Are they raising any type of hell talking about holding sit-ins or making any type of like loud statement about what needs to be done under this current administration? See, let me tell y'all something, man. When many of us in New Black Media was warning y'all about voting blue no matter who, which does not mean that you vote red instead. Let's get that straight. The point of casting your vote is supposed to be based on a business transaction situation. Quid pro quo, you get something in exchange for that. Now, if somebody keeps coming to you asking for something that has value, which is your vote, and then year after year they prove that they take what you've given them of value for granted, why would you continue to keep giving it to them over and over again? I've said it many times. If you won't work for free, which most people in this country have sense enough not to do, then you don't vote for free. I want y'all, before we go on into the rest of what she's saying here with her tweets, because I captured several, I want y'all to stop and think about it for the brothers and sisters that are not in Jackson, Mississippi or Flint, Michigan. Think about what it's like if you have a family and you're in a heat wave with no access to clean drinking water or water that you can even bathe in. Now, it's difficult for an adult to have to deal with that situation, but I want you to stop and think about what motivates me most to do what I can to help my community and my people. Think back to what it was like for you to be a child. Think back what it would have been like for you to be a child when you don't have an understanding of the world. And all you know is that when you need water or food or shelter and you're going without it. We have some people in our community that are unfortunate enough to have gone through that. But for those of us that did not go through that, imagine what that would have felt like were you in this situation and you need water. Let's take it a step further. Imagine being a black family with infant children that need access to clean water. I'm trying my best not to say certain things, but I'm gonna say one thing, goddammit. You sons of bitches in the Congressional Black Caucus aren't worth a drop of piss to sit here and see what's going on, and you do nothing to help our people. I do not call those of them that have betrayed us to this extent my brothers and sisters, Because if you're going to call someone a brother or a sister, they conduct themselves as family. And family doesn't do this to family. You see, they fine as long as they're good with their little cushy job assignments and they get their paychecks and pensions or what have you, and all the other little under the table kickbacks that they get from trying to imitate white people. They fine as long as they're good. But the rest of the people that's supposed to be their constituency that need them, you don't exist to them. I look at the landscape today of the political structure in America, in my community, because my concern is only for my community. Every other community has somebody to advocate for them. That's not my concern. My people are the ones that don't have anybody to advocate for us in these political offices and spaces. When you look at the way this structure is set up, my question to the older crowd that has such faith in these people, you understand that they do nothing for our community. You understand that you have, in many cases, children and grandchildren, nieces and nephews. At what point do you stop and say, if I put you in office, I need you to do something for my loved ones and my family that I care something about? If you value your family legacy, if you're thinking beyond just yourself and what you can get. Those of you that applies to, that have taken a stand, I salute those of you. The few of you that there are. But to the greater majority that just vote blue or vote for anybody without getting anything tangible, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you yourself are a traitor to your family, because this is a life or death situation in Jackson, Mississippi right now. You cannot criticize the younger black voters that have taken the common sense stance of saying, hey, I am a tax-paying citizen of this country, and if you come to me seeking my vote, that means that you are a public servant. And you must do things in the service of the public that pays taxes to you. The young people have the right idea. They are on the right side of history, requiring tangible policies in exchange for the vote. And I'm going to say this again, as far as the Black American community, we have to require proof of concept policy before you get one vote. You have to go out and do things in our service in good faith to give us a reason to vote for you now. Because now we have situations where, and mark my words, unfortunately, this is going to be duplicated elsewhere. Jackson, Mississippi, that is. It is a way to actually try to remove black people from an area without actual gentrification. It's environmental gentrification. You either want to create a situation where you deprive people of a critical and essential resource like water to the point that you kill most of them, or you make them move away and then the white people come in, buy out the property, and voila, Negro problem solved. That's exactly what we're looking at here. You can't tell me it's anything else, because see, imagine if there was a predominantly white city having the same issue as Jackson, Mississippi, Flint, Michigan. Do you know how fast they would fix that issue overnight, family? And people like this maggot right here, I will not refer to her or any of them in any respectful fashion. People like this maggot right here will be front and center advocating that the white people get their water turned on. Yes, boss, we need to take care of that right now. But your own people, you look the other way on that like we don't exist. And I say it's high time that we return the favor. I want y'all to see what else she was saying. Let's go to the next tweet. I was joined by Congressman Tom Soziel, however you pronounce his name, of New York. As we were briefed by the military rescuers, we saw people still racing to helicopters to be rescued, as well as met and listened to the men and women and children who experienced the raging deadly waters. Well, Sheila, let me ask you this. When have any of you gone down to Jackson, Mississippi and listened to the men, women, and children that's experiencing this water crisis? You can go all the way out the country to places where people don't pay American tax dollars. Take our taxpayer dollars and go listen to them about disasters and hardships that it's up to their country to deal with. See, down here in the South, this old saying, you sweep around your own front door first. There's nothing wrong with helping other people, but you start by taking care of home first. If there's no food on the table in your household as a family, you got to put food on your table before you go and share with anybody else. Besides this water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, we got homeless black people from one end of this country to another. Where's that compassion for our people, Sheila, and the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus? See, when you wear black skin, that should be an honor and a privilege to wear it. But where you disgrace and dishonor that skin that we wear is when you conduct yourselves like people like Sheila Jackson Lee, who is not a foundational black American. This woman is of Caribbean background and descent, which is exactly why they keep putting these people in office like that, as we have come to see more than ever, that a lot of these people have sheer and utter contempt for us. They can't wait to get up on their white ass to kiss. And see that's their business until it becomes something where they're in political offices where it affects our daily lives. That's when it's a serious issue. Let's go on and see what else Sheila had to say here. And I want y'all to brace yourselves because, see, for me, it's very difficult for me to compose myself and speak on this, but I need to bring this to you the way I know only I would, because a lot of other people going to tap dance around saying it the way it need to be said and sugarcoated. I'm not going to do that. This is going to be sickening here. I want y'all to brace yourself. With whole villages underwater, 33 million Pakistanis are affected and almost 70,000 women are expected to give birth potentially without medical care. Now, I find this particularly despicable because, Sheila, you're not thinking about all the women that's in the same situation in Jackson, Mississippi right now. That could be pregnant or have just given birth to newborn children that's in a situation where they got to figure out how the fuck they gonna get water that's clean enough to use. These people are no earthly good. And any fool in our community that's voting them back in office, you need your head examined. I feel bad for anybody that go through any amount of suffering, but I'm going to tell you what I don't do, and nobody can make me feel guilty of. I don't feel more remorse for those people than I do my own people who are so greatly neglected, not only just in this country, but around the world. Who put black people first? How great of an insult and a disgrace is it when so-called elected officials who look like us, who are supposed to represent our issues, represent everybody else except for us? That is a grave insult. When I look at her face and the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus, I see traitors to not only just Black America, but to be honest with you, if you run around Cape and putting other countries' issues first, you're a traitor to the entire country. I went there with it. And the reason I went there with it because our ancestors built this motherfucker. I don't care what people say about us not being in control of it. It don't change the fact that we built this motherfucker. And we're on our own home soil here. And this is the treatment that we get. You wouldn't have an America if it wasn't for black people. And she has such compassion for these people, but you don't mention a word about your own. Let's go to the next tweet. Our delegation brought hope that the United States will be an effective and consistent partner in helping Pakistan work through this human crisis. How frightening humanity is under attack. You don't say, Sheila, huh? So, Sheila, you can see the humanity in other groups outside of this country that don't wear the skin that we wear, but you can't see the humanity in fellow taxpaying Black Americans whom you are supposed to represent. They can recognize that, but they can't recognize our humanity. Family, I want y'all to understand something about the reason I'm bringing this information to you, just in case some of you haven't seen this. Most of you in these circles have seen this, but in case you haven't, I want y'all to start understanding that the reason why the Jewish community is in the position that they're in, you've all heard them say 2 words: never forget. I will give them credit for the injustices that they faced. They have sense enough to never let it go, and to make sure that anytime you come against their people with any type of mistreatment, they all get on code and make sure that situation gets rectified. It is long overdue for us to have that same sentiment in our community towards any group, especially those that have been sent to represent us. See, I'm like this. Take Black out your name. If you're going to call yourself a caucus, don't say Black, because you don't do nothing for Black people. You don't represent Black people. Don't call yourself a Congressional Black Caucus. Call yourself the Rainbow Coalition Caucus, because you do everything for every other color except for Black folks in this country. That should be the top priority on these people's agenda right now. When you have a predominantly Black city in America with taxpayers without clean drinking water, anytime we have a crisis situation in our community, that is supposed to be their primary objective and purpose. See, ask yourself, when the Hispanic Caucus, when the API, any of these other organizations that are politically involved, when do they put other groups ahead of their own people? Those groups that I just named, which are just 2 of many. Ask yourself, when does any other primarily political group outside of the Black community even mention our issues, let alone go running to our aid and advocating for us? They don't advocate any financial resources. They don't advocate any media resources. They damn sure don't advocate any human resources to help out with anything that we have going on. Yes, you have this ignorant bag of dog shit right here, sitting up here running way to Pakistan as if your own community isn't dealing with issues back abroad. See, let me tell y'all how the dominant society looks at people that participate in that kind of behavior. The thing about being a Sambo and a coon, you are looked at the same way as law enforcement and the mafia looks at a snitch. Law enforcement don't trust you because they're like, okay, if you willing to rat on your own people and treat them like that, we damn sure can't trust you. And then you know your own people don't respect you because it's proven that you will work against your own people. That's the same way that these political figures are viewed. They're basically damn near the equivalent of pets for the dominant society and white supremacy. I could not get up and look myself in the mirror every day if I was elected to the office of serving my people, supposedly, and then just act like nothing's going on when there's a crisis. Think back to that Mammy Maxine Waters. Yes, I said it. When she was over there on the West Coast talking to homeless people, talking about everybody just go home. I'm like, bitch, that's the reason they showed up. They don't have nowhere to go. And you ain't advocating for them and trying to get nothing done. And I'm going to go here with it. I'm going to step on some toes. Some of y'all not going to like this, but I got to call it like it is, because one of the things that a lot of people keep tap dancing around with this issue that we see with these Black politicians, especially those that are non-foundational Black American, Look at the makeup of most of these politicians. The ones who you primarily see out front, they choose the black women amongst us that are more easily bought off and controlled than the black men. Because the Sambo black men are not to be let off the hook, but let's just call it what it is. If they choose one of these bed wenches that's got a white husband like Ketanji Brown Jackson, Susan Rice, Kamala Harris, they know that, oh, okay, hey, you got access to a zaddy and we'll give you this little cushy position. We already know that you don't care about the rest of your people as long as we elevate you and make sure you good. I hold Daniel Cameron, that despicable bastard, to the same damn standard. You go get you a white woman, ironically, Mitch McConnell's granddaughter. You go get you a Becky, and then you sit up there and just look the other way on getting justice for our sister Breonna Taylor. This is a serious problem. And the thing about a serious problem is, y'all know me, I'm about solutions. So here's the solution that I propose. Whatever you decide to do coming up in these midterms this year, I want you to sit down before you cast your vote, black people, and ask yourself, what have these people that are seeking my vote in either party done for me and my community that you can see that they have done for other communities? We've seen them pass an Asian hate crime bill. We've seen them give out all types of tangibles and resources to the $5 Indians. That's right, the pretendians. They've gotten all kinds of resources. We've seen the Hispanic community get all kinds of resources. We've seen illegal immigrants from other people come here to this country, get all types of provisions and resources. Hell, and right now in New York, some of them are staying in high-end luxury hotels at the taxpayer dollars' expense. Same thing in the West Coast. We've seen them send billions of dollars to Ukraine. And at the same time, this same administration, which made so many high and grandstanding promises to black farmers, cut funding to the black farmers. See, it becomes to a point when it comes to politics and these people getting your vote, you have to ask yourself this. If you have an ounce of respect for your people, if you have an ounce of integrity as a black person, how are you going to sit here and look at all these other groups getting all these other tangible resources, even when they're not even in a crisis situation, and still be willing to give your vote to these people that have such despicable and utter contempt for the people in our community? You really going to keep letting your vote be a stepping stone for other people, but you at the socioeconomic bottom across the board? Is that what we're going to continue to do, brothers and sisters? Because I don't do it. I don't give my vote away for free. If you want my vote, like I said, I'm going to require you to go and bring me evidence where you have done something for my community. See, it doesn't even need to be announced, because if these people have been advocating or doing things for our people, it wouldn't need a big announcement. You would see the work. You would see the results. When you go into these communities and these cities and talk to people and bring up certain names, they'll be quick to tell you, hey, XYZ politician, they've already came here and did this. They come here every year and do something tangible for our people. You will be able to see the results of that. We don't see that here in our community, brothers and sisters. You cannot treat just voting blue no matter who, or red instead, as something that is a trivial issue, because this is life or death. It's one thing to face oppression and be mistreated. It's another to participate in it, brothers and sisters. And those of us with any type of intelligence, we should understand what it's like if somebody from our own mistreats us. We know not to tolerate that. So what is the difference when those people are put in a political office and they have that damn D beside their name? And this applies to the Republicans too, but we talking about primarily the Democrats, since that's the administration that's in office right now. You mean to tell me that as long as somebody has a D beside their name politically, you just overlook anything that they do to our people? Because see, silence is complicity. You cannot be a public servant and call yourself the Congressional Black Caucus and then you ignore the issues of the black community in America. Somebody please explain to me how that works. Y'all just seen all these tweets and statements this woman made with such compassion in her heart for what's going on in Pakistan when they got a whole Pakistani government to deal with that issue. Why in the fuck do they need your mammy ass to go running over there when you got problems in your own backyard? That go for the entire Congressional Black Caucus. I want y'all to do me a favor, family. When you see this video, if you made it to this point where you watched it in its entirety and you heard everything that I had to say, I want you to tag these Congressional Black Caucus members in it. Do share it. Let them see that it's at least a handful of us out here that are willing to call them out for their bullshit and their treachery to our people. And we're going to do everything we can to keep on highlighting and exposing their treachery and make sure that they don't get not one black vote for free from the people with any common sense in our community. This is an unforgivable sin, family. They have sat silent for too long when people have, look, the Jalen Walker situation. How many of them making noise about that? They should still be talking about getting justice for that brother. You shoot at somebody 90 times and hit the man over 60 times. Quiet as a stone, time after time when something happened. But boy, let it be a situation with some immigrants down there on the border. Oh boy, they can't wait to jump up and make noise about that, huh? Some people trying to come into this country illegally and they bending over backwards, hand and foot for them, trying to get things done for them to make sure that they just as comfortable as they can be if they ever happen to get over here. But yet you see our plight right in front of your face and you do nothing. Again, my solution is make sure you do not give your vote away for free. Make sure that every chance you get to go to a city council meeting and confront these people, get their asses on recorded video. Make sure that you share it with those of us in New Black Media so we can keep the pressure on them, because we need to get every one of them out of office. There doesn't need to be a black caucus if they're going to sit up here and aid these people in cutting our throats this way. It's one thing for us to have to deal with these white supremacists, but I'll be damned if they're going to use people that look like us to undermine and harm our community this way. We got to bring a stop to that, and we have the power to bring a stop to that, brothers and sisters. We do. Those of us that are on code actually do have the power to put a stop to this and not keep rewarding these people with bad behavior and cutting our throats in our community like this. We can't afford to keep going like this. With that said, I'm going to end this right here. Please do remember to share this and tag them low-life sons of bitches in this damn video. I'm calling them exactly what they are. I don't care how they react to it. They need to know that people are irate at them, and we are not going to forget this in our community. I'm going to close it right here. Black first. I'll see you all in future. Celebrate the foundational Black American culture of freedom fighting and resistance with the first annual Eritrea 5K run. This cultural experience will honor our FBA ancestors and icons while harnessing energy from our past to power our future. There will be security at this event to ensure everyone has a safe and enjoyable experience. Eritrea Run is a cultural event for family and friends. Strollers and wheelchairs are welcome. The in-person event will include a free 1-mile fun walk and will be held on December 17th in Tampa, Florida. Unable to make the live event, you can also participate virtually anywhere from December 17th to December 30th. All registered participants will receive the official Eritrea Run finisher medal, t-shirt, and more with the ability to upload their race time to the official site. Live event participants will receive the time race scores, professional finisher photo, video, and your name will be announced as you're welcomed across the finish line. Enjoy the post-race after party and review with a traditional FBA breakfast. You can also help us settle fun family debates like sugar or salt and grits. Prepare with family workouts and runs and post on social media using the hashtag Eritrea. For registered info and sponsorship opportunities, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Click the link in the bio. Hope to see you all there.